Welcome to Time to Talk. I'm Argie Holliman, and today is Wednesday, May 23rd. We are so glad that you could join us once again. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. Today, we actually have three guests. Later on in our program, we're going to hear from Kim Harris, who is a resident here in Grand Rapids, and she is on Oprah's Roundtable. Yes, you heard that right, the Oprah. And she's on her roundtable talking about politics and what's going on in the world. So we're looking forward to that. And then we also have Lieutenant Harold Elmore, who is the first African American firefighter of the year, and we're excited about that and want to hear more about him and his work and what he has been doing in the community for more than 19 years. And then I'd like to welcome right now as my guest, Evangelist Lois Thomas, who is a member of Shepherd's Arm Ministry. Lois, it's so good to have you on Time to Talk today. And Lois also is an awesome singer, but we're going to have her sing another time so she can really bless you with that. Today, Evangelist Thomas, who is going to talk to us about a revival that Shepherd's Arm Ministries is having. And their pastors there are Pastor Lois Anderson, and her husband's name is Pastor George Anderson.
Yes.
So Lois, tell us about what's coming up.
Yes, I would be very happy to share with the community and the public regarding our 4th annual Reawakening services. The dates that we have the Reawakening services scheduled are on June 13th, 14th, and 15th. And I want to share that our theme for this year is Awake, Awake, Put on Thy Strength, which is taken from Isaiah 52, verse 1. Our guest speakers are going to be awesome, Archie.
All right.
We are looking so forward to hearing from the men and women of God of this community. So on Wednesday, June 13th, we have for our guest Pastor Nathaniel Moody, who most of the community know. He is the pastor of Brown Hutchison's Ministries, along with his congregation as well as his music department. They will be our guests on Wednesday evening on June 13th.
Okay.
And then on Thursday, I'm so happy to announce to the community, we will have our own pastor, Pastor Lois Anderson. She will deliver and preach the spoken word on Thursday night. And at that time, she's going to pray, she's going to speak, and she's going to teach and preach the word of God. We are just looking for an awesome outpouring of the Holy Spirit on Thursday night as well, with our own pastor, Pastor Lois Anderson. And then on Friday night, which will be June 15th, we will have a guest speaker from out of town. His name is Pastor Curtis Dowse, and he's from Racine, Wisconsin. He will be our speaker on Friday night. And we are so happy that on these 3 nights, it will be a revival open to the entire community of Grand Rapids. Nightly services will begin at 7 o'clock. And again, the service will begin on the dates, Wednesday night, June 13th, on Thursday night, June 14th, and on Friday night, June 15th. And so we want to extend an invitation to our friends, our families, throughout the community to join us in this revival.
And where is Shepherd's Arm Ministries located?
We are located at New Horizons Ministries, which is 2660 Breton Road Southeast.
So right before you get to 28th Street.
Absolutely. We're located between Burton and 28th Street. A landmark that we like to use is the outdoor church located on Wood Meadow. We are directly across the street from the outdoor drive-in church.
And everything is free.
Absolutely. It's free and open to the public.
And is there anything else that you would like to share? We want to encourage people to come to Reawakening Revival, June 13th, 14th, and 15th, 7 p.m. nightly, and make them one or make them all. But anything else you want to share?
Absolutely. We want to encourage our public as well as our community not only to hear the preached word, but also on nightly there will be special musical guests. And we want to just invite everybody again to join us in the fellowship of joining our faith, encouraging one another, and expecting God to move in their lives.
And I'm sure as come as you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Evangelist Lois Thomas, member of Shepherd's Arm Ministries.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much for being with us on Time to
You're
Talk
so
today.
welcome, Argie.
And we hope that you can come back and sing for
Absolutely.
us sometime.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
You're welcome.
You're watching Time to Talk. We'll be back and we'll be talking to Lieutenant Harold Elmore of the Grand Rapids Fire Department. Stay with us. Hello, welcome back to Time to Talk. I'm Argie Holliman, and we're so glad that you could join us on this May 23rd, 2018. We have just one more live show left, and that show is going to be on June 13th. And then all summer long, you're going to see the best of Time to Talk and see some of the shows that maybe you missed or maybe you would like to see again. We'll be taking a summer break. But in the meantime, we're live 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on GRTV, and we repeat again on the following Wednesdays on WKTV, Comcast Cable 25 at 2:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. And we want to thank Evangelist Lois Thomas once again for sharing information about reawakening, the revival that's happening at Shepherd's Arms Ministries on Breton, and June 13, 14, and 15. And later on, we're going to hear from Kim Harris, who is on Oprah's Roundtable. Right now, we'd like to welcome Lieutenant Harold Elmore, who has won Firefighter of the Year for the city of Grand Rapids, and he is the first African American to do so. First of all, we want to say congratulations.
Thank you very much, Argie.
Oh my goodness, that is wonderful. And we are so glad to have you back on Time to Talk, because you've been on Time to Talk
maybe
before,
3 or 4 years ago.
but you hadn't won the award at that point.
Right.
But you received this award just this past April.
Yes.
This is a major achievement. You must be very proud.
Very proud, very, very proud. Surprised, but very, very proud. What I didn't get to touch on at the ceremony, what I'd like to touch on right now is I'm a child that came out of the civil rights movement. And things that were handed down to me were from my elders, such as yourself and my grandparents. And we see so much negativity in our group today, and it's always focused. I want to say to you all, your generation, that we're out here. We are performing. We're making you proud. We're making sure that all the things that you guys went through is not in vain. We are out here. We're performing.
And that's good to know. That is very good to
Yes.
know. Now, you've been with the fire department for 19 years?
Over 19 years, yes.
Yes, yes. Tell us about how you got involved with being a firefighter.
It goes way back. I'm from Detroit originally, born and raised, and an individual who took my mind off of negativity at a time where it was really important. When at the time where we were watching all of our friends die by gun and gang violence in the neighborhood because of drugs, the only conversation we had at that time was the cemetery a quarter mile down the street. Where our conversations, instead of talking about college and talking about what we're going to be when we grow up, we were talking about how our funeral was going to be, how many girls were going to be there, etc. So that was our mindset at that time. This one individual, he had a 75 Stingray, and when he came through the neighborhood to talk to his sister, he would step out the car and it was like everything stopped. All the gang violence stopped, all the crack sales stopped. And when he walked out the car, it was like you heard songs of the greatest thing you ever heard. And he was the coolest guy you ever seen. He was a firefighter.
You're like, I want to be like him.
Exactly. And of course, my mind being of a child, I'm like, okay, all the girls are watching him. So, yes.
This is how you get the
That's how
girls.
you do it. So I want to be a firefighter. I want a car. So that was the first mindset. Now, obviously, I've been through a lot of things before I got to this point, but that was the conditioning at that time. It was him, his inspiration. And ironically, after 36 years, he showed up at my ceremony. I haven't seen him in 36 years.
That
It
was
amazing.
awesome.
It
That was awesome.
amazing. It was awesome.
Maybe he's in some of the pictures that
I'm
you
not
have.
sure.
I'm
Hopefully
not
I did
sure.
pick one.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Hopefully you picked one.
Hopefully. Well, we have there was an awesome ceremony
Yes, it
that
was.
was held in your honor,
Yes.
and we have some pictures from that. Tell us who we're seeing.
We're seeing my wife. That's all my family that came from Detroit and around. So that's my support system right there. Along with aunts, mother, father-in-law, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, and friends. So that's my support system right there that we're seeing. Again, that's my mother and my wife, my two favorite ladies, I like to call them. So that's what you're seeing right there. And waiting for another one. That right there is a special group right there. That is me, my brother who was a detective in Southfield, and that is my cousin who I grew up with. So we are uniformed
They're
individuals.
firefighters too.
And again, as I said earlier, we are performing. We are out there.
Okay.
We are honoring you, as you see.
Wonderful. And they're from Detroit?
Yes,
They're serving in Detroit? Okay.
Yes. That's the cake, of course.
Cool cake.
Yes, it was. That's one of 3 cakes that was there. That was the
Oh,
one
one
that
of
was
3 cakes.
Oh, wow. Yes, we had quite a showing. It was really great. We had quite a showing of people come there.
Okay.
And that's
And
one of
there
the
you
pictures
are
in
by
front
a
of my
fire truck.
station, which is the Diamond and Chester station, which is the oldest station in the city.
Now,
So-
where are you stationed?
Diamond and Chester right there.
Diamond and
Chester.
Chester. Okay.
Chester. That's that station right there. Interesting fact about that station is that back in 1902, that station was actually supposed to be opened as the first all African American station
Really?
in 1902.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yes, no one. It's one of those factoids a lot of people don't know, but because of segregation, that was abolished, and unfortunately, we didn't see our first African American until 1950, which was David King. So
Okay.
in 1902, it was supposed to happen, and it was stifled, and then it took 48 years later before we
Okay.
actually got our first African American. But that station was supposed to be.
And you're actually making history.
Yes.
You're a legend in your own time. And you also are over this program that's called Fire Match.
Correct.
Which is working with young people who are arsonists. Tell us about that.
This program here is a FEMA organized program. FEMA's had this organization for over 40 years. And it's open for anyone across the United States to adopt it and make it fit your jurisdiction. We've had it in Grand Rapids since 1986, and it's taken on many changes since that time. I've been a part of it since 2012. At that point in time, I realized and recognized that it wasn't doing what its capabilities were. So I restructured that program, and we now are part of the Kent County Probation Department, Kent County Courts, Social Services, and we have other counseling agencies now, which is a big benefactor of this program, because a lot of these kids, they're not setting fire just because they're setting fire. A lot of the fires that they're setting is because something's going on. They're using it as a voice, such as abuse of every nature, such as neglect, etc. So we have connected to DA Blodgett and Arbor Circle and other agencies which help us deal with the other issues while we deal with the fire, which is huge for the program. So.
How do you intervene with young people who are setting fires, and what is the age group that you're working with?
Well, the youngest I've dealt with is 5 years old, but we go all the way up into the teens, 17 years of age. We have 5 different categories of fire setters. This is how we work with these groups. The first group is what we call the curious fire setter. That's the individual kid that finds a lighter, set a fire. They didn't intend on burning the house down, but they did. So we deal with it from that avenue. The next one is our crisis mode. That is our largest category. And crisis is individual kids that, again, go into the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, neglect, and believe it or not, ADHD, which is in itself a crisis. And over 60% of kids that set fires across this country are diagnosed with ADHD. So we deal with that crisis. The next one is delinquent, and then the other one is our risk takers. That is our biggest growing one, and that's because of social media. These kids see things on social media that makes fire look cool, and before they know it, they burn down the house. Remember the old water challenge a few years ago? Well, these kids, because of social media, decided to do what they called a very dangerous fire challenge, where these kids are dousing themselves with accelerants and then setting themselves on fire. So obviously that's very dangerous, and that's the risk that they're taking. And the next category, which is the most dangerous, and that's the pathological. Thank God we don't have a lot of those in there. So I deal with it from those avenues, depending on what category they set in. The program is very direct. It's no song and dance. There's no puppets. It's very direct, and it's in your face. but at the same time it's done with an educational platform where we're telling the realities of fire, we're showing the realities of fire, and we're doing it in an educational way.
Okay, we're talking to Lieutenant Harold Elmore, who is the first African American who is Firefighter of the Year 2018. And also you have a video about fire match, what you use
Yes.
in that. So we'll get that up
Okay.
as soon as possible. As soon as
Okay.
they can get it, we'll show that. But do you deal with the young people one-on-one or in groups?
Yes,
What do
only
you do?
one-on-one. I deal with the families. I go to the home and I deal with the family first. I deal with the mother or the father or both. And it's a survey system in which I talk to them and find out what's going on, and I get their perspective of what's happening in their household. Then I'm along with the child and I'm doing a survey and finding out from their perspective what's going on. Obviously, in most cases, two perspectives don't match.
Right.
That's like you looking at apple and I look at apple. We're both going to describe that apple different. So, but what I'm doing is I'm getting a picture. I'm getting that parent's picture and then that child's picture, then I'm putting it together, and that tells me a story, and that allows me to educate based on the information I have. And a whole lot of things come out in that process. Believe it or not, these kids tell me things that they don't tell their parents. The parents are shocked a lot of the time with the things that the kids are bringing out. That helps me again get to what's really going on, and that's where the counseling agencies come into, because I find that there's a lot of things that are happening underneath that child that they need extra care with, and that these counseling agencies come in as a big help with us for.
It sounds like you build a lot of trust
Absolutely.
with the child as well as with the parents. So how long are you working with people? Because I know it must take some time to build that trust.
Absolutely. The parents' trust is a must. That's actually a key factor to the success. The parents have to buy into the program, because once I'm with the child and I leave the child, the parent has to carry on the education. I'm in the home for at least 2.5 to 3 hours the first counseling session, getting everything done. After that, these children are with me 6 months at a time, so I carry them for a caseload. So I'm in contact with them and what's going on with them for 6 months. At that time, again, I'm back in the house for about an hour at the 6-month period of time. If the child has not set any fires at that point in time and everything's been fine, then I'll release them from the program. If not, we'll extend them for a year. We've been very, very successful in this program in the last 5 years. We're talking about 85–90% of these children are done with setting fire, so we're very successful. Yes.
So that's a good rate. And it's probably important to stress to parents who may not be in this program, but maybe they've been seeing signs to take it seriously.
Absolutely.
Your child's playing with matches, playing with lighters, but the house didn't burn down
This time.
This time.
Correct.
This time.
Correct.
But to take that seriously.
Absolutely. The parents, when they see that, don't look at it as a phase. Don't look at it as something that's going to pass. Fire is very dangerous. Fire itself is the #1 most devastating thing in nature. Okay, it breaks things down to its lowest molecule, including you and I. So we can't play around with that. If parents have these issues, they see them, give us a call, dial the 311 number, and that number will connect you to a whole lot of prompts. Look for the fire prevention number, and once someone answers that phone, tell them you have these issues and they'll get in touch with me. And I'll be able to contact you, and then we'll start dealing with things as needed.
And when we're talking to Lieutenant Harold Elmore, who is the Firefighter of the Year. You must be hearing that all the time, which is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's something that we're all really proud of.
Thank you.
And so that's great. How does your department look at that? Very, very supportive.
Absolutely, very supportive, and the chief that we have right now is an awesome guy. That's Chief John Layman. He came in the department looking to change the whole dynamics. Diversification is his big thing. He's into the department looking like the community that we serve. And when these type of accolades come up, he's all over it. And he's making sure that is celebrated to the 100th degree. And that works for us. It does. It works for us.
That is awesome. What is the Grand Rapids City of Grand Rapids Fire Department doing to diversify the department as far as women and people of color?
We are doing a whole lot of things. We're into the community more than we've ever been, and the chief is still being creative with other avenues. He just did a function 2 weeks ago, I believe, at one of the schools. We're at festivals. We're running the summer camp again, which is for the inner city kids here. He's doing a whole lot of things, and want to also make mention of Lori and Wallace. She's the first African American female firefighter that we hired last year.
All right.
And she's under my care. She's my firefighter as well. So that's great. We
Okay.
love having her, and she's awesome.
All right.
She's awesome.
Cool.
So,
Good.
again, but these type of things he's doing, and in the application process and whatnot, he is being very, very proactive in what he's seeing and what he's selecting as well, with individuals who are qualified. So he's doing a lot of things, a lot of creative things that we didn't necessarily do in the past. So we're hoping to see the dividends from that.
Okay. You know, it must be really cool for kids to see you, especially in your uniform and everything like that, and maybe even with the fire truck
Yes,
from
yes.
time to time. What kind of questions do they ask you?
Well, unfortunately, the first thing I get most of the time is, I didn't know we had any black firefighters.
Okay.
Because there's so few of us.
Yeah.
There's so few of us, to the point where it's not even laughable. And that's why one of the reasons why I don't go upstairs at a desk job or whatnot. I've always felt that it was important for them to see me, not me the individual, but me, the firefighter that's African American, jumping off a truck, because all their lives they've seen white males predominantly jump off the fire truck. So that kills dreams. You only become what you see yourself being. And when I say see yourself, you
Like
actually
you
see
did.
someone look like exactly. So it's important to me that I'm in the communities in which looks like me. It's important that I serve those communities and that they see me, the African American, so that dreams can happen. So that's very important.
Tell us about your background and your family life and how you balance all of that, you know, with a wife and adult kids, and then you still have a life in addition to
Yes,
being
yes.
a firefighter.
Yeah, God.
Okay.
I don't have the strength. I don't have the strength. I don't. Everyone's pulling me in different pieces, but yeah, that's the centerpiece of my strength. My wife has always been very supportive, and I made mention of her at the ceremony for the first time. I had realized that all the time that I've been doing this, she never complained. When I'm with these kids, I can get called at any point in time. I've gotten calls while we're on an anniversary trip on the strip of Las Vegas. I get a call from a probation officer. I go to one of my granddaughter's recitals, and I'm getting the call 8:30 at night. So, and she's never complained. Never complained. So
That's wonderful.
Yes, it is. I mean, she complains about other things, but
Yes.
but this, she understands this is my gift. This is my gift from God, and she does not interfere with that, and I really, really love her for that particular thing right there, for sure. Outside the other juggling act, it's just a matter of me being motivated enough to do the things I know I need to do, and be responsible enough to do those things when I need to.
And you have 3 adult children,
Yes.
and how did they feel growing up with a firefighter as a dad, or was it just like, oh yeah, that's just my dad?
Well, let's see. The oldest son was very frustrated when he was in high school because he couldn't do senior skip day because he couldn't get my schedule. So he couldn't be the big man on campus. So he hated it. So he knew I was going to catch him. My middle son loves it. My youngest son loves it as well. It's a lot of pressure. The shoes, meaning that they have to try to feel, and I understand that, and I tell them just be themselves. Be what God made you to be. Don't try to emulate me or try to be as good as me. Just be the best you can be. This is a lot of things to wear and tear on a kid to try to be firefighter of the year, son of firefighter of the year. That's really heavy.
What are the requirements to be a firefighter for the city of Grand Rapids?
Great question. Great question. High school graduate or equivalent, so you do not need a 4-year degree. Clean record, of course. Staying out of trouble, staying away from drugs, and I preach that habitually. And being able to pass a written test. It's very, very competitive, Argie. When I came in over 19 and a half years ago, I was writing a test against 1,400 other applicants. And in that process, we only took 12 people. So this process, there's different stages of it, and it can last up to 4 months, 5 months, before you become a full-fledged firefighter. Once you pass the test, you have to go through an academy that's 16 weeks long. By the time you finish the academy, you still have to be on probation for 365 days before you can actually be called an official firefighter. So altogether, that process from start to finish can last you a year and a half. So you have to have some type of oomph about yourself to be able to go through that process.
Okay.
Yes.
In addition to the academics and the physical strength, that oomph, tell us more about that oomph, what you gotta have. You know, I'm sure determination is one of them.
You have to be competitive. You have to not be a stymied person, someone that's going to back down really, really easy. It's very challenging physically, so you have to have physical attributes about yourself. You have to be healthy, all right? And you have to be able to think under pressure. Our whole job is thinking under pressure. You gotta remember, we're going from sitting at one point to 100 miles per hour when that alarm go off. So you have to be able to think about what's going on under pressure really, really fast. And when you get on scene, you gotta understand, we're seeing things that the average person does not see every day. So you have to be able to make good judgments under that type of pressure. So that takes a special type of person. That old cliche, while people are running out of fire, we're running in. That's a special type of person. Some may say that's cuckoo, but that's a special type of person. That's that oomph. That's a vague definition of that oomph. So you just can't be a regular Joe deciding that you want to be in this line of work. You have to have a little more extra than being a regular Joe.
And you're seeing people at their most devastating moment, no doubt. And then maybe when you're arriving on the scene, everything is chaotic. Maybe everybody's yelling and screaming and telling you different things, and you know, like they're saying somebody's in there, and maybe it's the cat, but whatever. You know, you just got to discern what is going on.
Absolutely, that's where leadership is most important. And of course, we do all type of leadership training and training in general. The leader, me and the officer, such as myself, we have to have a strong, what we call command presence. So when we go there, we have to set the tone. Once we set the tone, all that extra background noise should go away. You focus your team, your group, on the objective that you're there for. All the rest of the stuff should go away. We decipher what's good information based on what we have, and that starts when the alarm goes off. The information doesn't start when we're on scene. That goes from when the tones go off, also the radio traffic while we're getting there, and then when we get there, placing that all together with what we're seeing. So that's constant. So I can't focus on the dog barking over here, someone screaming over here. I have to focus on what information I'm getting from start to finish and make all my decisions from that point.
Also, I have to give you firefighters a lot of kudos because one, you have a very, very difficult job. And then also we have fire trucks come out to our neighborhood unity day every year, so we want you all to come to that.
Awesome.
But you know, we go in the fire trucks and the kids go in the fire trucks, and I go in there, it is hot. It is so hot in those fire trucks, and you all, I don't think, have air conditioning.
Some of the machines do. Now, when
Some
I
of
first
they do?
started, they did not. The newer machines
Okay,
do
well, this
have.
was a while back,
Yes,
so and I
yes.
was like, this is really hot. You're already on your way to a fire.
Right. Correct.
It is hot.
It has
in there.
improved over 19 and a half
And then
years,
you're
it
wearing
has.
all these clothes.
That's where, again, that extra oomph comes in again, because the gear itself holds in every bit of your 98.6 degrees heat. So in a real good fire, when I'm in there for a long period of time, I mean, you can lose 5 to 10 pounds on just water, and just because all your heat is confined to that gear. That gear, once it's on you with the air pack, approximately you weigh an additional 68 pounds. So imagine
How
carrying
much?
an additional 68 pounds.
Okay.
So imagine carrying a little person on your back while you're working.
Okay.
And it's very minimal flexibility and mobility in it. So it's a lot of things that physical fitness is very, very important for.
Let's talk about what to do
Yes.
in case of an emergency, a
Yes.
fire emergency.
Okay. Dial 911. Don't try to fight those fires. Okay. Kitchen fires is the #1 cause of house fires nationwide. Okay. Grease fires in the stove is the culprit. Okay. We ask that if you are cooking in the kitchen, we know you can't stay there and watch it, but do things that's going to help you and remind yourself that you're cooking. Set a timer on your cell phone. Carry a spoon. Why would you carry a spoon? That's why, to remind you that you're cooking. Okay. But in the event that you do have a fire, the most important thing you can do is get out. Have a plan with your family. Your family, before a fire ever starts, you should know 2 ways out of the house. You should know where a meeting place is outside. A meeting place is something that doesn't move, not a car, a truck or anything. It should be a tree that's been there for 30 years or a neighbor's house. Something that everyone knows where to meet, so in the event of a tragedy of a fire, you can have the most important things accounted for, which is your family. You can replace all the other stuff. So that's the most important thing. We'd say, don't try to fight a fire, get out of the fire. Okay, let us do our job.
The few times when I've had to call the Grand Rapids Fire Department, it hasn't been too major, but it was like, I need to call. They've been very quick. What is your general response time?
We have 11 stations in the city, and those 11 stations are geographically located where we can get anywhere in our district within 5 minutes. So that's why we have quick response time. Someone is in your district within 5 minutes. So when you ring that phone, now this is a very, very important information for everyone to know. Cell phones, I understand everybody's trying to cut their bills or whatnot, but cell phones will delay your emergency because cell phones do not go straight to a city dispatch. It either goes to Michigan State Troopers or it goes to the Kent County. So if you're in Grand Rapids, your emergency is going to be delayed because that operator has to switch over to the city operator. Ground lines, which are the old phones we're used to, that goes directly to our dispatcher. We can pick up where you are, even if you fall down or faint or whatever. That dispatcher still has that information. But if you're on a cell phone, that's going to be hard to pick up. So I understand, again, there's always a monetary reason why everyone has cell phones in their home. But I definitely recommend, especially for the elders, you should have a hard line in case of an emergency.
Is there any plan to change that in the future, or anything that we as citizens can do about that?
Unfortunately, technology is technology.
Oh, okay.
That's just how the technology works. It's going to ping off towers versus going straight to a location. It's the towers that they're pinging off. So right at this point in time, my quick answer is no, unfortunately.
Also, we want to talk about the importance of people not pranking. You know, kids might want to prank. Sometimes adults want to prank,
Yes.
you know, but that is not funny.
No.
That is not a serious matter,
No,
because
it's not.
then you're taking the
Resources.
department away from somebody else who
That's
needs
correct.
them.
That's correct.
So if you can talk about that.
It's great to say that we don't get that as much as we used to back in the day. But as you say, yes, that's very important that they don't do that, because, again, you're delaying someone else that has a real emergency. And again, most people have cell phones, so you compound that with you playing on the phone. Someone that has a real emergency, you have just delayed them countless amount of crucial minutes, and every minute counts. It does, every minute. We are a time-vested organization. We pride ourselves on getting to, again, these locations within 5 minutes in our district. And if you're delaying me because you're prank calling, that makes it even worse if you have something that's critical. So now I'm delayed before we find out there's a prank, and I have to redirect myself to another location that's holding us up. So definitely, please do not prank call. It's not funny, and you'll find it's not funny when it's your emergency and someone's delayed.
We're talking to Lieutenant Harold Elmore, and we're going to take a break in just a moment. But before we do, can you tell us about any success stories of some of the young people that went through your fire match program?
Absolutely. Again, we're at an 85–90% successful rate. Most of our kids complete this program, and they don't return to fire setting. And we're very proud of that. So all of our kids, now one kid that particularly stands out was years ago. I like to tell this story all the time. It was a summer day rainy outside, so it was muggy. I walk up on the stairs and I'm seeing this kid, and he comes to the door and he says, "Are you here to stop me from setting fires?" A whole lot of people have tried, and I'm still setting them.
Well, excuse me.
So of course I had to immediately go to prayer. Oh Lord, help me not strangle this kid. So I go in. About an hour into this whole thing, this kid is already changing his behavior based on what he's seeing, what he's learning. Before it was over, he was telling his mom sorry. I had this kid for a year, and when the year was over, he was totally 180, a totally different child, because again, we had the counseling aspect. We found out that he needed some different type of medication for the things that he was dealing with behavior-wise. Just a great kid, just a phenomenal kid. So he's one of the best stories from start to finish there. Yeah.
So you were able to reach him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. We're talking to Lieutenant Harold Elmore, and we're going to take a break right now, and we want you to know that you are watching Time to Talk. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Allison Field. My dad and brother Storm and I are television news reporters, and the saddest stories we've had to cover are the ones involving children hurt or killed in fires. Sometimes the kids were playing with matches or lighters. Sometimes it wasn't their fault at all. We made this video to show you the danger of playing with fire and to teach you fire safety lessons so that you'll know what to do if there is a fire. Now, you may believe you already know about fire safety because you've had practice fire drills at school, or sometimes firefighters have come to talk to you at school. But listen, because there's a lot more you need to know. My dad and brother put on special firefighting gear to learn firsthand the dangers of fire. And one fact they learned and want you to know is that fire is black.
Hi, I'm Frank Field, and this is my son, Storm. Now, we both work in television news, and we decided to report on why so many children are hurt playing with matches, or setting fires, or being trapped in a real fire at home.
Now, what we found out is that most children are just not aware of the dangers of fire. And now we want to tell you some things about fire which you may find hard to believe. For instance, if I asked you to describe fire, you would probably describe it as bright yellow flames, or bright light, or hot flames. But a real fire is often much different.
This is what you probably think a fire is like. It's easily controlled. It's nice and warm with pretty flames. And sure, you've seen the firefighters dashing through the flames in movies and on television. Well, in a real fire, it's not that way at all. In the movies and on television, they have to have lots of light, so you'll be able to see the actors dodging flames. If the movies and television showed you what it would really look like in a fire, this is what you would see. Nothing. Just blackness. You would hear only noise and burning sounds, and that's what really happens in a fire. This is how some people who've been in a fire describe it.
Smoke. So thick and so black that you could not see your hand in front of your face.
I was holding onto the doorknob here and holding my boyfriend's hand, and he went to open the door, so he was like maybe 3 feet away from me, and I couldn't see him.
When something burns outdoors, the smoke from the fire has lots of room to float away. There's plenty of fresh air, and so the smoke doesn't seem dangerous. But when there's a fire inside a building...
I'm not scared. This is one of the training
Hello, welcome back to Time to Talk. I'm Argie Holliman, and today is Wednesday, May 23rd, 2018. And as I said earlier in the show, if you didn't get a chance to hear that, we have one more live show in 2 weeks on June 13th. And you know, in June, we usually have my birthday bash show. Yes, okay, because my birthday is June 8th. You need to remember that and put it on your calendar. It should be already written in there like all the other holidays. Oh, okay, never mind. But anyway, But our celebration on Time to Talk will be June 13th. So we hope you can watch and be here and enjoy our musical guest, which is to be announced. So you don't want to miss that. So today is Wednesday, May 23rd. We're talking to Lieutenant Harold Elmore, who is Firefighter of the Year and is the first African-American Firefighter of the Year. Now, they have had this award for 48
Yes, since
years.
1970, yes.
Yes, that is a long time. And you are the first African-American person to win that
Yes.
award, you know, which, as we said, is quite an honor,
Yes,
not only for you, but for all of our city.
yes, absolutely.
No matter what race people are,
Absolutely.
you know, we can look at that with pride and say, okay,
Change is coming.
change is coming.
Yes.
Exactly, exactly. Do you go into, while we were on our break, we were watching a video that you brought.
Right.
Tell us what we were seeing.
That video is called Fire Is, and that's a copyrighted video that comes from the East Coast, excuse me, by Dr. Frank, who put that together because there was so much tragedy that was happening over on the East Coast in terms of fire setters at that time that he felt that it was imperative that he did something about it. So he made this documentary and made it educational so fire services can communicate with him and get a copywritten copy and get the okay to use it. It's an outstanding and vital training tool that I use because it deals with different elements of fire setters as we talked about earlier. And I'm able to use that video as a visual and as a communication piece to the kids that I deal with there. So that's one of many tools that I use here, and that one right there is probably my most valuable there.
And one of the things that we see is how quickly fires can take off.
Yes, fires double themselves every minute, okay? In order for fire to take place, we call it the fire triangle here, okay? It needs three things, okay? The first thing obviously it needs is fuel. That's the thing that's gonna burn. The next thing it needs is oxygen. Fire is just like you and I. It requires oxygen to live. The next thing it needs is a spark. Without any one of those things, fire can't exist, okay? If it has an abundance of the fuel and abundance of the oxygen, then the fire grows as strong as it wants to grow. All it needs is that one spark, okay? When you have an enclosed area such as this, or a house, structure fire, whatnot, that makes it even more deadly because fire then starts to build up pressure. And if it builds up pressure, then you get into an environment that's very, very dangerous, not only for you, but also for firefighters, because now everything that is burning up is now superheated poisonous gas. So if you breathe in that, you die. Fire almost gets a bad rap. When people say a person died into the fire, they think automatically
Because the smoke.
flame. Yes, the smoke is the baddest boy in the room. All right, because those heated poisonous gases. Once you inhale that, you're pretty much done. Fire just finishes you off in most cases. Okay, so we encourage everyone to at least know some basic principles about getting out of fire, staying down low, getting out fast, closing doors when they sleep. If you do have a fire in your room, outside of your room, once you close that door, put something up against the bottom of that door. If you're on the second floor and you can't get out, once you close that door, have a pillowcase, open up the window, wave it so that people know that you're in there so we can come get you. These are the type of things we encourage people to start learning for their own safety and to teach their other family members.
How high do the fire ladders go?
We have our highest stick in the city is 107 feet. Yeah, that's our newest one. Yeah.
So if you're staying like in a hotel or something, is there a certain floor you don't want to be?
Yeah, the one that's higher than the stick. No, we typically hump the stairs. We typically get inside and we hump those stairs all the way up to where we have, obviously, we don't have fire hydrants inside of buildings, but newer structures
You
have
have
what we call,
sprinklers.
yes,
and
we
things.
have standpipes, which is part of a sprinkler system. Sprinklers help us tremendously. But standpipes, if you go into a building and you see the fire hose or something in the hallway, that's part of a standpipe system. So we carry a bundle of hose called the high-rise pack up those stairs to that floor that you are on, and we hook up to that inner building hydrant, so to speak, that standpipe, and then we're able to have it pressurized from below with our machines, and then we have fire just like we are from a hydrant. So those one of the tactics that we have right there. So we can hopefully stop you from getting out by stopping the fire.
Do you have, I'm sure you do, additional training that you go through every year?
Yeah, we all have all types of training year round, every week, every month, all types of training of every sort. I like to tell people that your firefighters are probably one of the most trained individuals that you have in your city. We are your Mr. Fix-It and Mrs. Fix-It. So you call us whenever you have a problem, and when we walk through the door, you expect us to fix it. So we have a variety amount of talents among the fire staffing. We have people that do carpentry, we have plumbers, we have electricians, we have guys that work on cars. We have all this type of talent, and we bring that to the table of firefighting. We don't just go in with a set plan. Most of our plans go in as I said earlier, off the cuff based on what we see. And then we adjust. So we're your Mr. Fixer, we're your toolbox. We can do a lot of things other than firefighting.
Well, and I personally experienced that. I had a very serious fall a few months ago downtown at a concert, and I got hurt pretty badly, and the first people on the scene was the fire department.
That's correct. We are medical first responders, certified by Kent County, because, as I said earlier, we're geographically located, 11 stations. The ambulance service, ALS units, they don't have enough units to get to you as fast as you may think. So they incorporate us into their emergency system because we can get there again within 5 minutes. So we get there, we stabilize the situation until they come and take over. So again, we're your Mr. Fixes. Actually, believe it or not, even though we're called firefighters, over 70% of our job is medicals. So that's why you'll see us.
Okay. Well, and I thank you all for that. I thank you all for that. Do you go into schools and organizations, Lieutenant Elmore?
All the time. I work very, very diligently within the school systems with JA. I've been doing that for about 10 years. So I talk to the kids on career day about the very thing that I'm talking to you right now about what it takes to be a firefighter. And also at the same time, I'm trying to encourage them to stay away from things that'll stop them from becoming whatever it is they want to be. So we're talking about the drugs, we're talking about the gangs, we're talking about the violence, we're talking about everything that can disqualify them from reaching whatever potential it is that they have in them. So I'm not just talking about my occupation, I'm talking about any occupation that can stifle their dreams.
And re-emphasize again the importance of keeping a good, clean background. You don't want any criminal background, not just if you want to be a firefighter.
Yes.
If you want to get anywhere in life, your background is going to follow you. So you want to keep that record clean.
Absolutely correct. Your background, your name, my mother used to always say, your name is the most important thing you have. Protect it. And that's true. Protect your name. And people, the kids in particular, need to understand there is a such thing as guilty by association. Mama used to always say, you pick your friends. Don't let your friends pick you. So it's very important that you watch the people you hang out with and the things that you do. Most importantly, find some way to have some type of moral turpitude or compass about who you are. That's the most important thing. Find out who you are. If you find out who you are, the rest of the mess should start to disappear as life goes on, as you experience things. You should be able to spot trouble. But again, the most important thing you have is your name. Protect it.
What are your responsibilities as a lieutenant in the fire department?
Oh boy, tell me what isn't. Security, I go in, I got a new responsibility. The most important and the most valuable responsibility I have is my crew. No matter what goes on, my number one job is to make sure we work 24-hour shift. The most important thing that I have as an officer is to make sure from 7 o'clock that we arrive on scene in the morning to start to 7 o'clock the next day, that they bare minimum leave the job the same way they came. That's the most important job I have is my crew. They are the most valuable thing I do. So outside of that, we do a multitude of things all day long. We're checking schools, we're checking hydrants, we're checking buildings, We're training, doing a whole lot of training, checking the machine, cleaning the engine house, maintaining the engine house. We do a whole lot of things other than what people would think. But a lot of it is revolving around training. And of course, those pesky alarms we run.
And teaching people safety as well. Now, you
Yes.
have a free smoke alarm program.
Yes,
Can you talk briefly
the
about that?
RSP program, forgive me, I don't know how long it's been around right now, almost about 5 years, if not 5 years right now. Again, the 311 number, if you are a resident that lives in Grand Rapids and you own your home, that's the key thing, you have to own your home. Okay, rentals are not privy to this.
Right, because their landlords have to
That's
provide
correct.
that for them.
That's correct. We're not going to add to their income. But if you are a homeowner and you do not have at least a smoke detector on each floor and one in each bedroom, give us a call. We'll send one of our crews over and we'll install those for you for free. Okay, again, you have to be a homeowner. 311 Fire Prevention and ask for the RSP program, and they'll set that up for you.
And you don't want to just get the cheap ones. You all provide the lithium battery,
Lithium battery.
that's going to last for 10 years. That's
Yes,
what you really
yes,
want,
that's what you want.
in your home.
It's maintenance free. You don't have to go around changing batteries all the time. And we ask that once it's on the wall, just leave it there inconspicuously and let it do its job. Let it protect you in the event of a fire. It is your first and most important early detection for fire. I want to clear this up because we get this a lot. When a smoke detector goes up, it doesn't stop a fire from happening. It doesn't, just because you have it up, it doesn't mean your house is not going to catch on fire. It is a detector. It detects when there is a fire and gives you early detection to get out. It does not prevent a fire. It alerts you that a fire is there. That's a misnomer. That's something that needs to be cleared up.
Just so that you can be aware that
Yes.
something is going on,
Absolutely.
either smoke, fire, whatever it might be.
correct.
And I would just add that I guess if you do have one of those smoke alarms that has the batteries, not the lithium battery, don't take them out,
No.
except to change them. Don't take them
Yes.
out just because you were cooking and
Absolutely.
you don't want to be bothered. And then
Absolutely.
you forget to put them back in there.
Absolutely. When we have a fatality, and this is across the nation in our occupation, the first thing we go to look for is to see is if that family had early smoke detector, smoke alarms inside the house. We find those smoke detectors in certain positions. We either find them not on the wall, they're sitting on the table, which means it's not
Doesn't
going to
help you
protect
there.
Correct. Or we find them with a battery, but the battery is disconnected. Or we find them without a battery at all, which still leaves us with that, what if they had early detection? Would they still be alive? So these smoke detector organizations and companies that are making these lithium batteries are doing us a great service, where we make it hands-free from you, where you can't touch it, don't need to touch it, and again, let it sit up there and protect you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us before we close? We have about
Absolutely.
30 seconds.
In terms of your kids, if you don't know or unsure that your kid is playing or experimenting with fire, check these certain areas. Check underneath the bed, check in the closet, and check the mattress and window sills of your child. Their bedroom is their sanctuary. That's where they feel most comfortable at playing with fire, and that's where they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do. So check those areas, please, and make sure your kid is not playing with fire. If they are, call 311 Fire Prevention and ask for me, and we'll get over there and try to help you.
All right. Lieutenant Harold Elmore, African American Firefighter of the Year. We want to thank you so much for
Thank you,
being
Argie.
with us again on Time to Talk.
was
And
great, Argie.
congratulations once
Thank you,
again.
thank you.
And thank you for watching.